guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be reviewing the economics cycle unit from Moving Beyond the Page. I have shared a bunch of information on Moving Beyond the Page. I have a full video just about Moving Beyond the Page in general, so if you have no idea what I'm talking about, go check out that video first. And then we've done tons of units from them so far, so after we finish those units I normally review them, share my thoughts, recommendations. I have a whole Moving Beyond the Page playlist on all of the units that we've done, and I'll link that down below. Before we even get in, I will tell you right away, this is my favorite unit from Moving Beyond the Page and possibly my favorite homeschool unit that I've ever done. Not because of how well, and no offense to Moving Beyond the Page, but it's not a perfect unit by any means, but the topics, the lessons, and what you can do to make it even better, hands down an amazing unit, and I think everyone needs to do it in their homeschool. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ashley. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 kids. I have a 4th grader, 2nd grader, and preschooler. I also work full-time, but I work in the finance industry. I've worked in the finance industry for the past 10 years-ish. I work in lending and finances, and I'm telling you, I learned everything I know once I got that job, and it's things that are important life skills, is, you know, getting loans, credit, how money works, how interest works, how taxes work. Those are skills that our kids need, and I hope that anyone realizes that stuff's not being taught in public schools. It could be, but I took a personal finance class in high school, and I literally can't tell you what I learned in that class because it did not prepare me for life at all. So the reason I'm telling you all that is this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because in my finance career, there was a time where I was a loan officer, and so I would help people get loans, and the lack of education and knowledge on how just lending and finances and money work can really get people into some hard times and trouble. And so I think if we prepare our kids to understand these things, they're just going to be overall better prepared. I also think it's really timely right now to be talking about economics. It's something that I think you didn't hear a lot of, and now you hear it all the time. And whatever the case may be, there's cycles, there's things that happen with money and finances that are in a cycle, and they're always changing. And once you learn the concept of how money works, how economics works, you're just, I think, better set. Let's get into this unit. So for this unit from Moving Beyond the Page, it does require 1 book. If you made $1 million, this book is only used in 2 of the lessons. It's a cute book. It's pretty youngish, I guess, geared to youngest. My kids liked it. I did find, and if I can remember to find it, I'll link the video down below. There's a YouTube video that Scholastic made that like makes this book into like a cartoon. So what we did is for the first lesson, we watched that, and then the second lesson, we went back and read the book. So it's the exact same thing. It's the book just in like a cartoon animated form. But I think that was a little bit better than reading this book twice. It kind of breaks down if you earn a penny, and then if you earn 5 cents and a dime. And the only thing I didn't really like is, honestly, you can't buy anything with a penny. You really can't buy too much for under $1 now. And so I do feel like this was pretty outdated, but ultimately some of the concepts as far as like saving money and how you can earn interest. So as soon as it started breaking down, like if you save $1,000, if you save $10,000, $100,000, and how fast interest starts building on larger amounts of money, will get your kids' attention. The reason that this was one of my favorite units is how engaged my kids were the entire time. Most kids, I think it's fun learning about money and growing up and getting jobs. And so as you're going through this unit, one of the very first lessons is talking about, well, obviously the economic cycle, just talking about needs and wants and how, we work and we make money and then we buy things, and it's just a cycle, right? Because everybody contributes to the cycle in some aspect. There's activities as far as like doing a weekly budget where your kid can make their own budget, or I think you can like assign them things, or I don't really remember because this was like one of the first things. What I found with how this unit is put together is it is for ages 7 to 9. it's very kind of base level. And so I found myself doing a lot more to add on and kind of enhance these units. So I do not think that just if you open and go and do everything that's in this unit, it's going to be the most amazing unit. It's not what I'm saying. I think you're going to have to do some legwork, but I think it will be worth it. So for this activity for weekly budget, what I had my kids do is I had them both research, what careers do you want? So I think one of them picked a chef and one of them picked a lawyer. And so they researched how much does an entry-level chef make? How much does an entry-level lawyer make? And so so they learned how much money they would probably make weekly, and then they broke it down into a budget. And then we used those same jobs for more lessons going further. That also brought up more discussion. So like I said, I think this lesson is very basic. And so what we talked about in this first lesson was, yes, you can think you're going to make all that money, but the more money you make, the more that comes out in taxes. So you think you're going to make $1,000 a week, you really only make $700 a week. Giving them those examples. Or, you chose a path where you're going to college and now you have student loans and now you're paying $200 a month in student loans. So getting them to think about, it's not just, oh, I have a job and this is how much money I make and this is how much money I can spend. We really kind of went a little bit deeper in that. As well as, this weekly budget, food, clothing, entertainment, toys, gifts, savings. Yes, this is what every little kid wants to spend their money on, but that's not realistic. So with my kids, I said, how much would rent be or a mortgage be, and then insurance, and how much would a car payment be? So I took a lot of the fun out of it to make it a little bit more realistic. Now, if you have those younger ages, especially like my second grader, we could have just done this and been completely fine. But because I was doing it with my fourth grader and they had such an interest, I really, really was intentional about making this like more realistic to them. This was a super fun activity. And so this one, it gives you a budget. You have $450 to spend over the month. You need to figure out how much you can spend in the day. So you have $450 for your whole month. Now, I wish it would have broken that down a little bit more because my kids were a little confused. Well, if I have $450, then I can just buy everything I need. But it really is like you're going to the store just today, but you still have the rest of the month, so you can't spend all your money. So I wish it would have clarified that a little bit more. But again, that's something I think you as the parent could kind of do. So then they have this list, like you're hungry, you need food, you need a toothbrush, it's cold and you lost your mitten. So it kind of gives you like a scenario, like these are the things you kind of need to buy. This is the prices of all the items. And again, this is all the money you have for the month. So we kind of played around with it. Again, I don't like how their directions were. I felt like it needed a little bit more. Then we started talking about different jobs. And so they give you some jobs and then you can separate them in different categories. Then the activity has you separate them from someone who provides a service to provides a good. This was also a really good lesson. It's talking about taxes. And so it will give an examples of the tax cycle. We buy things and pay tax on them. We work and make money and pay tax on that. And then it says, the government uses tax money to provide things. And that's how the cycle works. And then it gives you an example. So John got paid $800 at his job. He must pay 10% in taxes. How much will the government take from John? And so I really like this because that brings it back to how I was explaining to them. Like, you don't just get all the money you earn. Like, there's other things that are taken out. Now, this is obviously like higher level math, percentages and stuff. I wish they do give you the answers, but I wish they would have told you, like, how do you figure that out? Like, how do you figure out what 10% of 800 is? Like, kids, especially kids 7 to 9, don't know how to do that. So I wish there would have been more explanation on this. And I don't know, I just feel like this could have been a little bit different with some of the activities. But overall, the reason I like this is because it is making it more realistic to them. This one as well. So this is my job. You would research, what job, what do you need? And so again, we took those same careers my kids picked earlier, and then they needed to research like what kind of schooling does that take, how long of schooling, what would your job be, what would you enjoy, what would you maybe not enjoy about it. So this was really awesome as well. Then you read that book again for the first time. If you made $1 million, there's some discussion questions on that book. There's activities, practice writing checks, which I don't think is bad to learn. So again, I worked in banks and financial industries, and at one point my job was to train frontline staff, and we would hire, you know, people right out of high school, and they didn't know how to, it's not even in that industry, it wasn't even really writing a check, it was reading a check and understanding. So I don't think that this is something that doesn't need to be taught, but if you're going to teach how to write checks, you should really teach maybe, you know, what is a debit card, what is a credit card, you know, because that's an online bank account. So I do feel like this unit is a tad bit outdated, because they only include checks, which is not a common form of payment anymore. You know, we should be talking about things like ACH and online transactions, PayPal, Venmo. I mean, those are all very important things that are happening. So just another thought. And then you have this, what would you do with $1? So it says, if you made $1, what would you do? If you made $5, if you made $10, $20, $50, $100, $1,000, and $1 million. And so this is, again, it should have got them thinking, reading that book, like, you know, if you made $1 or $5 or $10, you know, how I was explaining to my kids, could you invest that in something to make more money? Like, you could probably open up a lemonade stand with $20, and that could turn into $50. And then, you know, at this, you could, you know, where are you going to start saving your money at? So again, I felt like I just had to give a little bit more explanation on this to guide them to really make it a good thing. Here's services. So like a plumber provides the service, but what goods do they need to provide that service? So just kind of understanding the difference again between someone who provides a service and someone who provides goods. Then it gets into opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is something that's heavy in micro and macro economics. Everything has an opportunity cost. What that means is every time you make a decision to buy something, to not buy something, to go to work, to not go to work, you're making a choice to spend money or time on something versus something else. And so we kind of had to go through those discussions. So like when I chose to blank, I gave up the opportunity for this. So if I chose to buy a dollhouse, I gave up the opportunity to buy a video game. That's a very simple example. I chose to go to work. I gave up the opportunity to spend time at home. That's something, you know, a little bit different. So those are all very good things to teach. And then you get into supply and demand and equilibrium, which I do think they did a very good job of explaining this to a younger age range. Because again, these are college level terms and thoughts and practices. So equilibrium, this is if supply is greater than demand, if supply is less than demand, or if there's equilibrium. So they learn what equilibrium is, and then they work through these. And they worded this very well to where my kids understood it. I had to minimally explain this. And then you have a supply and demand graph. I do not feel they did a good job explaining this. Or maybe the way that they're explaining it was to make it easier, but for someone who had to do college on these graphs, there's a lot more to it than, and I don't expect an elementary school kid to grasp that, but this wasn't my favorite. I think it could have been done a little bit better. There's a couple of graphing exercises, and then the last section is your final project, becoming an entrepreneur. You start a business of a popcorn business, and it gives you you know, marketing techniques, different flavors to experiment with. So it gives you the recipes, it gives you some graphs so you can like survey people, like what was the best flavor of popcorn. And so I think that that's a really fun project because it gets them to start a business thinking about things. I did kind of add some stuff on. And so we started it with like, okay, think of what brand name you want, and like what is your popcorn going to be different. And so like one of my kids, they're like, well, I'm going to make custom popcorn. So I'm going to ask anyone like what custom popcorn flavors they want, I'm gonna make that. And then my other kid was like, I'm just gonna make 5 really good flavors and that will be the option. And then I had them design like packaging, and then they had to write like shopping supply lists, and then they had to, how much did all that cost? Okay, how many bags of popcorn did you make? How much are you gonna sell them for? And so I feel like we took it a little bit further, but at least you have the basics down. And so that is kind of my review on this whole unit. And you're probably like, well, why did you like it so much? I like it because it laid the groundwork for something I think is very important and pretty difficult to like teach. And so I think this leads on for a lot of add-ons and opportunities for discussions. I would recommend adding on this book. This is the Kids Know-It-All Guide to Money. This is a really fun series. I'll link it down below. They have like a grammar one. They have some other ones too. It has like reading passages, but then actual activities as well, your kids, in games that they complete. So I think that this is a necessary and great add-on, that you could even read this first, right? Because it's going to go into those same topics that the unit does, but this book does a lot better at explaining some of those things. Taxes, and there's activities. So yeah, I would probably do this book first and then do the economics unit. So we're doing it backwards because I forgot I bought this book until I found it. And so this is something we're going to do now that we finished that economics unit. But yeah, I think this could probably, you could stretch this out, like I said, and really go more in depth with these 2 sources and make this like a 6-month course, doing it like maybe once a week and really focusing heavy on it. I think it could be really fun. But again, if you don't want to do all those extra things and you just want to open and go, I don't know if this will be super great, because I feel like it just needs so much more clarification. All right, guys, so that is my review on the economic cycle unit from Moving Beyond the Page. We really liked it. I recommend it as long as you understand. I don't know how open and go it will be. If you want to go more in depth, plan on adding a bunch of things on. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. Have a great day, and we'll chat soon. Bye.